I have been discussing many of these utility-focused projects for quite some time now. What stands out is that adoption is indeed occurring and gaining momentum. I believe everyone is now quite aware of this trend. When you consider major players like BlackRock, Fidelity, and Franklin entering the space, it catches your attention. Moreover, prominent banks are indicating their intention to engage with and leverage these particular ledgers. They are showing interest in exploring tokenization, which is increasingly becoming a significant component of the conventional markets. As Wedo, we consider whether we are beginning to observe the most significant movements occurring. No, when we carefully examine price actions and the functionality of these underlying networks, it's not truly operating at scale, and a substantial increase isn't happening because there remain numerous barriers, such as the necessity for comprehensive regulatory clarity and unified approval. However, one aspect I have been concentrating on is the progress taking place behind these networks, as eventually, and I believe it won't be long before it happens, all of this will become significantly important. Hence, in this context, I focus on Hedera and XDC since they represent two networks and two projects of interest that for an extended period have been ignored. I mean, even when we consider HBAR, it wasn't a significant project until recently when people began to pay attention to it. I would argue that it shifted when we started to gain some traction back in November to December. Before that, many people truly didn't care about what Hedera was doing, despite witnessing major moves, such as Service now joining in as a GC member and adopting specific features of Hedera and Service now services affecting 80% of the Fortune 500. Regarding XDC, it remains neglected even now, after experiencing a nice rise back in November to December too. I would claim that XDC is perhaps one of the most underrated projects in the field. I just created a video discussing it as well. The reason I mention these two is that they're beginning to converge, and they are indeed beginning to collaborate. It all essentially began with an event in March focused on tokenizing real-world assets, the future of trade finance, and institutional adoption. This event was held with Hedera and XDC at the Web3 HBAR ecosystem meetup. Generation Infinity even cited it, noting that Hedera and XDC network united on tokenization talks. This is significant because we are witnessing increased collaboration in this space, primarily regarding utility. For instance, we can refer back to the DRE Alliance, a notable coalition due to its influential members. Notable names include Ripple, XRP Ledger Labs, Swirls Labs, which supports Hedera and the XRP Ledger, as well as Algorand. There are impressive alliance members linked to the Hedera ecosystem, alongside the Casper Association and Constellation. Considering this, it's quite remarkable to see the major players that could become the future Amazons, Apples, and Googles of the world joining forces to ensure this becomes a fact, and I believe that we are still quite early in terms of the significant developments occurring in the crypto and tech sectors. However, advancements are happening rapidly. For instance, we have nearly reached $20 billion in tokenized assets value, which is significant as it represents a substantial sum. Nevertheless, this is merely the start. Once we hit the $1 trillion milestone, we can expect things to escalate significantly. The journey from now to that point will be thrilling, as we are still very much in the early stages of many of these key initiatives. Additionally, when discussing tokenization, we also consider the